We pay our respects to the First Nations people of Canberra, the Ngunnawal people, their ancestors past, their elders present and future. We acknowledge His Royal Highness Crown Prince Tupoto Abukalala and the members of his house who currently reside here in Canberra, the political leaders of this country of Australia. We acknowledge Her Royal Highness Princess Latukefu, the Tongan High Commissioner here in Australia, leaders of other Pacific Islander communities, leaders of our Tongan communities here in Australia, and to all of you watching this Lo'au University multimedia program this afternoon, 13th of May 2022, from Canberra, Australia. Welcome all to the Women in Dialogue program. I am here with Luisa Latukefu, who is the facilitator of this program, and I will now hand over to her to introduce our topic for this afternoon. Thank you, Luisa.
Thank you, Luseane. It's lovely to be back with you again on the Ma'ananga studio here in Canberra. Always lovely to see your smiling face and all ready to face our audience. We haven't been back with Women in Dialogue for a while. We've been too busy doing our own dialogue, I think. But yes, welcome everybody. Like last Women in Dialogue, it's a fair while ago now, but we did sort of previously talk about the developmental milestones for the ages 5 to 9. And it was mainly about healthy and active children. It was about screen time, and we did cover the immunisations, the vaccinations for the same age group in our last one. So with these sessions, Luseane, I thought we'll sort of finish that age group because it was about the school age. And we'll be talking about the developmental milestones, 9 to 12 years of age. And that's a very busy time of them. And Luseane, I just wanted to revisit the importance of, so why do we bother to talk about developmental milestones?
Why do we bother?
Yes. The thing is, I think as parents, we use the developmental milestones as a metrics for sort of keeping an eye on, for our parenting, our children. And also as the health professionals, they use the developmental milestones as a tool for for monitoring the children's developmental. It's milestones. It's I think they put that together. If you think back, Luseane, remember back in the 70s, we were all working here in the ACT about. We're all talking about because they were changing a lot of the policies and stuff.
That's right.
And back in the 70s, they sort of really used the evidence base, to sort of develop our policies in those days. Yeah.
Yes.
So I think a lot of the developmental milestones tool that we've been using out there with ACT Health, the department sort of all came together with that. And like when we always talk about, remember Luseane, when we're always talking about parenting and all that, yeah, it was sort of seen as a tool for the parents, just to monitor and keep an eye on the developmental progress of their own children. So I just wanted to sort of clarify to the parents out there the importance of it. I mean, in the ACT, in Canberra.
And I guess everywhere else, Luisa, and as we know, those programs were piloted here.
Yeah.
All those studies came through, so all the policies start being developed. All the things went out to all the services, as you well know, because you were a great part of doing that stuff and working towards implementing those new policies. But it was an exciting time too, Luisa, because we were learning as we were teaching and handing out information too.
Well, that's right. And also, like, when you think about it here, Luseane, it's about, like, I think we're so lucky because they start monitoring a child from
Yes.
in utero.
Yes,
Like,
absolutely.
when the mom is still sort of pregnant, I think, we've got that. They monitor them in utero, and when they come out, we do the home visits, and we start monitoring those
Yes.
kids right from, like you think about first 6 to 8 weeks, you have to go and do the visit because that's the first developmental, landmark or milestones that's in their book.
Yes.
Because they have their little own record.
That's right.
Yeah.
And I think I was just thinking when you were talking, Louisa, about how important in vitro,
Yes.
because that's where it's starting. And I think a lot of studies now are showing up that a lot of the problems that children experience starts from there.
Well, that's right. It starts
And
right
I remember
from...
you talking
Yeah.
way back when about for us to be aware and to be careful. That's where it starts.
Yeah, and it's about the environment, isn't it? Because that's really very important when you're bringing up your children.
Yes.
And of course, like in Canberra, we've always sort of said, like, legally, everybody has a right to bring up their children the way they want to bring them up, like religion, cultural stuff, background, all that. They won't stop you unless you neglect your child.
That's right.
Yeah, and you
That's
don't
right.
educate your children.
That's right.
Yeah, all those, or you abuse them. Yeah, it's
Yes.
about,
And I think, Louise, it's very important to have those watchdogs or
Yes.
people watching you, because we as parents need help time and time again. Sometimes we come in, we don't know. We need someone to tell us.
Yeah.
Luckily, there are people that are there to support and help you, just to get you through whatever's happening in your lives. Because sometimes, as Louisa was saying, environmentally, things can affect
Yeah.
parenting or a child, So I guess when as you're talking again, Louisa, it is reminding us of those conversations that need never stop.
No.
They have to keep going. And also too, with some of the research hasn't really changed, Louisa. And some of the ways of doing things hasn't really changed.
The basics still the same.
Yeah, the basics is still there.
Yeah.
It's
Which
just
is
little
good.
things
Yeah.
that are added on, and new things that
Yeah.
are added on,
And depending what goes on, like
Yes.
out in the environment that you're living in, and of course, like political, climate at the time, that usually impact on that. But yeah, like I was saying, so it's about right from the beginning. It's about that child, and today, like last time we did it's the school age, and we're only talking about the normal development. We haven't really, touched the any problems with their development sort of thing, because we were just talking about just the normal things. So it's about that.
And there are so many things.
That's
isn't it,
right.
Louisa? So many things that happen when they're developing. Louisa, I was thinking today when I was thinking about this program, and I thought to myself, Louisa and I brought our children up, with all that stuff that we were learning and knowing what to do. And then now we're watching our children bringing their children up and doing all the things that we used to talk about.
Exactly.
Development ages, especially this age group you're talking about, Louisa, they're learning such new things, aren't they?
And like we were
Body
saying,
changing physically.
because we were saying that last time. It's about the school age.
Yes.
And at the beginning, it's about those very innocent kids,
Yes.
they're just happy and they're still very dependent on their parents
Yes.
and stuff like that. And then towards the end of the primary school age, they're coming into this, stage of their development that we're going to be talking about today. That'll be the 9 to 12.
Yes.
And
yes. busy.
Yeah, it's a busy,
Busy
it's a very,
age.
yeah, because it's about, like I said to you, I kept thinking about what's that word again, Luseane, what's that word? It's about puberty.
Yes.
And that's
yes.
a very busy time, isn't it?
Busy time. Because, if we remember back,
Yeah.
I was remembering, with my children around that time, it was busy. Information and how they retain information and how we keep having to say things so that they can retain. But it's a learning thing with their bodies changing. And
for both of us,
yes,
even for parents, yeah.
Yes.
So I think about, at each stage of development encompasses specific markers or skills, and that's how we sort of monitor them,
Yes.
Their development. And also, but it's
great in a
child,
way because their services like your services, the health, the schools are also taught to look out for these markers.
that's right, yeah. It's amazing how everybody falls into that line of parenting.
Yes.
And each child, of course, we have to keep reminding the parents, each child is an individual and they develop at their own pace. Some of them might develop a little bit faster than the 9-year-old, and then some 12-year-old, it's like that's the puberty age for some of them, and they keep changing that. Like, in the 80s, that age when you think that you're mature, it was about like 12, 14,
Yes,
14
right.
years of age.
That's right.
Yeah, so
wow, 12.
yeah, and developing at their own pace.
Yes,
sort
yes.
of, yeah.
So and I think it's I think it's important for us, for the support workers, for the health, and for the teachers, that some develop, as you said, Louisa, slowly. Some do it faster, but there is still a marker that'll say if someone is just way behind that marker, then we need to do something. Something else needs to happen.
It's about the early detection, and once again, which is really good, isn't it? And I think we're quite lucky here in the ACT. If you think back to your parenting, your children, the services, we're so lucky with the way we can access any services, like to help us with the developmental delay, or too fast. I think, some girls or some boys can manage that, with no problems at all. So for the health professionals, the milestones were used as a tool, because we could always pick up those who were a bit slow and then sort of refer them on to whoever. Because you remember how your kids we did the hearing test, the eye test, all those, and we've got services that we can always sort of send them to, and all free services here in the ACT.
And just oral health, the teeth dentistry is such an important thing. But we are, Louisa, as you're recounting all those things, I'm just thinking how lucky we are to be in a place where all those services are in place for us.
Yes.
And for parents also, not to feel if the teacher is saying, look, Johnny here needs to go and get his hearing done or his speech because he's still not reading or, not speaking properly, not to feel threatened or feel that you haven't done your job.
That they're picking up on our parenting.
It's just getting the support for your child so that they don't go on to high school still being behind, because they are saying, Louisa, if they're not picked up before high school, they can carry those problems on.
Well, that's right,
to adulthood, which is sad in a way, but as we said, just be aware. There are things that you can look at to see, right, is my child able to make decisions, or is he able to do this, or how is he with his peers? Those are little things that we as parents can pick up on anyway.
And especially this age group, like 9 to 12, Luseane, did you ever use Dr. Christopher Green's book for parenting? I think it was one of the well-used books. He's one of the pediatricians.
Absolutely.
In our days.
And especially you who have talked about it. So I've, that's where I've heard this, the little Bible.
Yeah.
And it is, and it still makes sense to me. It hasn't, outlived its due date or anything like that. it's still, as you said, Louisa, basics. It's still us reiterating all the things that we've been taught, and it still works. When I talk to my, daughter-in-law and to my daughter about, how it is with them and their children, they talk about the same things.
But it's just different ways that each parent does it, isn't it?
Yes,
Yeah,
absolutely.
And
it's okay, as long as we all got the, a goal and to achieve.
And it's like what you were saying, the basics. But we might do it different ways.
Yes.
I was just going to say a little quote from Dr. Green's, one of his books. And he's talking about, he was referring to this 9 to 12 years old. They're standing at the crossroad in life. Behind them is that openness, and it's that innocence and the unspoiled imagination of the young. Yeah, and then you get to this like 9 to 12, you're looking ahead of them is a more serious world where they must compete and make the grade.
That's right.
Yeah,
absolutely. So true, and that resonates with me because, it's like leaving behind that innocence of childhood.
That's right, yeah.
And they're at the entry to going on to, to adulthood. And it's like everything is introduced, the way they deal with their parents, the way they deal with their teachers, everything's changing. They're having to learn these new skills that they'll carry on with them to adulthood. Exciting, a little bit daunting, I guess.
Especially when a lot of them are doing things online.
Yeah.
And then, they just got that electronic stuff in their hand, and they're so smart with it.
Aren't they?
Yeah. And as parents, the years ahead will be like the testing for both our patience and our stamina. Because they're at this age, they'll be starting to turn around, question our our values,
everything,
our cultural stuff,
all
that,
all the whys.
Yes, all the whys. And I think one of the other books was saying that this age group is often the most overlooked phase of a child development.
But
it's the age where play is very important, Luseane. And yet they're saying that most of us parents, that's usually the age that we don't play with our children, like we stop playing with them.
Yeah. Lisa, I was thinking because, we say to our, I'm always saying to my, when, they're around that age, you have to talk to me. If there's a problem, talk to me. But I remember, I think it was my young son saying to me, but I tried and you were busy. so even though we have to be
how smart is that? Because they sort of can pick up on,
But how important it is, especially around this age, that if they need to talk and, with us, that we make the time. Because quickly the time goes and passes from this age group, this really important age group. We have, as you said, Louisa, we don't play with them anymore because they're at that age where we think they can play by themselves.
And they get a little bit more independent with their play, isn't it?
Yes. Their peers become more important,
Yeah, towards the end, it's the peers that sort of,
Yes, the peers come into play and they'd rather spend more time with their peers than with us. So we tend to let them go a little bit because, they're getting, they're playing and so forth. But I guess during their play, the difference in playing with their peers, they're learning to negotiate also.
And it's about like managing, it's about their skills as well, and that's so many things at that age. And they're saying that important factors come to play, like the influences on the stage, like genetic, sex, and gender, diets and nutrition. And I think they're saying that when we were talking about puberty before, Luseane, they're saying,
they're saying about, I know, Louisa, yes.
Yeah, because they're saying about, what was I going to say about the I lost it. Even though their peers start to have that influence, how they feel towards the child is important. But they do say they still sort of look up to the seniors, to
Yes.
their parents.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because even though they might say, oh no, but Johnny, but so-and-so said it's this. Because we've all heard that, oh no, Sue said that it's like this. But usually after, it's sometimes I think it's also a change with us parents too, the way we talk to them, the way we negotiate with them, because their brains are growing differently. So we need to be able to not talk to them like the little babies that they were, but talk to them like they're learning. They're learning and they're making different choices, learning to make choices.
That's right, yeah. And also being mindful that sometimes they might think they are old enough to tackle a lot of the stuff.
Yes.
But without our support, but I think we'll know our own children and we know when to step in, and just say, yeah, but it's about, like you were saying, Luseane, it's about choices, giving them some options, to sort of do those things. Yeah.
Sometimes that's hard, Louisa. I remember being a parent, it's hard sort of letting go a little bit so that, like, they're old enough to make this choice. That's also difficult for us as parents, knowing how much to let go, hey? Sometimes. And I think it's a to and fro. It'll be like that because we are parents to these, absolutely precious children. And we sometimes, our holding on is like a safety thing, because we don't want them to go out and experience this. But it is important to allow them, to have their friends, be able to say things, because it's negotiations that they learn around this time with their peers and with us as parents. Really, really
and
important,
we're always there. We've got their backs.
Oh,
yes. Because it's about, like, it's about just letting go softly.
Softly.
Yeah, and then
that's it. Softly.
What do they say about
softly?
What do they say about parenting? I've heard people say it's like holding a soap, a cake of soap in the shower or in the bath. If you hold it too tight, what is it? Yeah. And if you hold it too loosely,
yes,
it sort of slips off your hand. So it's about just that nice steady sort of. Because I remember, I think it was a minister in church who was talking about children and using that.
And sometimes, because we as parents, we're looking around at our peers and looking at the way they parent. When I was, around that age group of, looking after my young children, sometimes you're looking around thinking, oh, am I still doing the right thing because so-and-so is doing it like this? I think everyone parents a little bit differently. And I remember you always saying, Louisa, we parent the way we were parented, but we put in our little extra, thing onto that, especially
on our own lifestyle.
That's right, and what we've learned.
Yes.
So there's always somewhere to check, always.
And we share with the parent, the other parents. It's about supporting each other. And of course, Luseane, you remember, that's why parenting is so important. Because, like, first-time parents, we always run parenting groups for dogs. And what we usually talk about is about the developmental milestones, because it gives the parents the idea of how to cope with their children. And talking about that, when you talk about this age group, Luseane, the word puberty comes to it.
Yes.
Even 12-year-olds,
yes.
They say that, like, even like, especially if like they're all different sizes, you've got a girl who is sort of big, and then she's got boobs, her breasts are already out
well
there.
developed, yes.
Yeah, and then with the girls, of course, their hips a little bit wider around that time, whereas with the boys, it's always about, because 12-year-old now, and their voice break.
That's right.
And you hear the, oh, no. Already, isn't it? Yeah.
And taller,
And
because they say that humans are bigger or taller, and, to do with diet and environment and all that sort of stuff. So I guess, of course, our children will be developing more differently.
Yeah,
Hey?
that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's about us being more aware of what's going on, because they do say, that it can be very stressful for some kids. When you think all the hormones are working at the same time, Luseane, if you talk about girls, some of them at 12 will even start. It's not just the breast. They've got the boobs.
Menstruating early
It's about
too.
the menstrual cycle starting.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, so the hormones come into play.
Yes. Yes.
So what happens when the hormones come into play? So we all know that.
Yes.
Yeah.
True. And I remember hearing someone saying, "Oh, the moods."
What
Because we talk about mood swings,
Yeah.
and whatever, but they do happen around this time also, because they're trying to negotiate their way through being young, from young children to being, they're thinking they're quite grown up now, so they think that they can do this, and sometimes it's negotiating every day,
Well, that's it.
isn't it?
Yes. And it's about being open conversations with
Yes.
them, and being aware that, because some of the boys, they get very, their privacy
Yes.
is very important about that, yeah.
Very
Do you
true.
remember for your boys, Luseane?
Absolutely.
We get a few hairs under the arms.
Yes.
We got a little mustache starting to come out.
And I remember them demanding their privacy and demanding separate rooms and, having their own space. So that was, that was something that we had to, as parents, try and facilitate for them, because that's what they wanted. And of course they needed it. They needed to have that space for themselves anyway.
Especially
Nothing
boys.
at all,
When you think, Luseane, like, when they got hairs under the arms, and they're aware of it,
Yes.
of the growth, they get a little bit conscious sometimes. So, you think, well, fair enough, they need their privacy. But
And
also,
even with their peers.
yeah.
Because I remember with my children, you'd hear something like, what was it? Oh, you've got this happening, and oh. And they're doing it with their friends. Oh, so and so is doing this, and because that one's developing a lot quicker than these ones, and someone's got hairs on their chin and on their little, on their moustache is growing, and it's quite an exciting time, but it can be.
It's sort of daunting for some.
Yes,
for some.
yes.
And for us parents as well, if we are not aware and remember, oh yeah, they're going through that. I remember, I hope my kids are not watching, Luseane, sort of thing. But when they need, I never thought much about privacy at that age, but then I'd be saying, to my other child, I'd be worrying because, the door is closed, what goes on in there, and I say, did you ever come across, like, when young boys have those dreams?
Yes.
Wet dreams,
Yes.
yeah, and all that sort of thing. And I would say, do you think maybe he might be having that? And I was like,
That is just not the way to approach a young boy, because they do not want to hear
well,
it.
that's it.
They do not want to know what, it's my business and no one else is going to know about it. So I guess with parents, that these are the development ages that they go through. Some of the things children don't even want to talk about whatever's going on.
They might talk about it amongst themselves.
They do amongst themselves. It's like they can easily with their peers. But for you to approach, it's like, oh God, Mum, stop it. So I think it also, as a parent, it's finding a way to allow them to be, but at the same time knowing that they might come to you and say, oh, Mum, this is happening. Is that normal?
Well,
and to be
that's
ready
it.
with the answers, then to say yes, yeah.
Well, that's right.
Quite normal to be, but not to feel left out if they don't want to come and ask you either, because they've got all these children. They might even go and ask their teacher.
Yeah. They might feel more comfortable to ask the teacher because they are not really that closely connected.
And also too, schools are the school syllabus now for primary school children and, before high school, a lot of stuff is being talked about.
Yeah,
Anyway.
they do.
So in my time, oh my gosh, it was nothing like that. But now it's very open to discussions about what's going on with, changes in their bodies, sexuality, all the things that we know that we could never talk about. It's now an open book in a way, and teachers are taught, or, to be able to impart good information, correct information to their young students when those questions are asked, And so they should.
Right, yeah. And then talking about developmental milestones, like, do you remember 4 years of age before they start
School.
the primary school, we always do that milestone developmental check.
Yes.
And then that's really helpful.
You see
to
that
the parents,
all immunisations are done.
and then the speech, they're
yes.
talking all right, the attention,
Hearing,
that they're doing all the right thing,
Yes.
by the developmental age. And of course, like I say, if you feel that they're lacking behind, or they're having a little bit of trouble, it's about that early detection, and it's about referral on, for further. Like the physiotherapist will be doing something to do with the gross motor skills, all that sort of thing. So with this age group, because we used to do, you remember if any of your boys, we used, and Chiara, we used to go for year 7 and did the scoliosis test at the high school.
Yes.
So that
Yes,
was really
absolutely.
good, because that's part of it.
Yes.
And while you're doing that, you're sort of checking out the kids. So how's everything? And that's a way of maintaining that contact and keeping them in line with what they should be doing.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
at that
It's
age.
so important, Louisa?
Yes.
When I'm thinking of all the information that we were given as parents, and also the other people watching our children
Yes.
and keeping tabs on their health, like you at the health department, making sure that kids, hearing test, and I know that lots of people used to ask you a question. Louisa, do you think this is, and you're always ready with all the information and the answers for them to who to contact, and, to listen to what the teachers are saying. Because I know that even members of our community, even though they were told by the nurses or by the school, they'll still come and ask you. Because sometimes you need to trust what your information is coming
that's
from.
right. And also, we don't do those things, Luseane, without the parents' consent.
Yes.
That's a big must,
Yes.
The parents have to give you consent, and also if you find anything, it's about talking with the teachers and the parents,
Yes. So, I guess that, if something happens with, if something happens with a child, I remember, Louisa, there was, sometimes we were called in, but there were appropriate people, support groups came in, like health came in, maybe whoever, because a child will go home and say, oh, I think I need to, or with a note to say, I think your child needs a hearing test. Okay? It's a good thing. Isn't it great that that's picked up?
Yeah.
So that, because most of you didn't realise that your child had a hearing problem.
And it could be just a mild hearing deficit
yes.
that you can't pick it up at home,
Yes.
because sometimes you talk in a very, the volume is loud enough for the kids to pick up.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So,
Because you don't really, sometimes you think, oh, they're not listening. But at the same time, they are listening.
selective listening.
So it's good to get those things checked out, even the way they're developing. I remember, this is just a little side story, but I remember my eldest son, it's like he was knock-kneed. So, but we were told, if he gets to school when he's about 6 or 7, if that hasn't straightened out, then we can do something about it. And he did,
They straighten out.
Absolutely,
Yes,
just
that's
with,
right.
as you would know, with growth and, milestones,
Yeah.
and sometimes bones don't behave until they get to a certain age. So that's why it's so good that there are these watchdogs, as I call them.
And that's partnership. You know,
Partnership,
and it's
that's
about
it.
it's about like
That's
your
it.
your health like
Yes.
department and the parents, because we can't
Yes.
do anything without the parents.
Not at all.
Yeah.
And how important, it's important to have these negotiations with parents and with other parties, support parties, you know, there within that negotiating table, because it's all about helping the little person,
That's right.
the young person. It's not about saying, hey, Lucy, you're not a very good mum because you didn't know that your child couldn't hear or that its teeth were rotting inside, you know. It's just to say, we noticed this, there's help. You know, we can put you on to Louisa's team who will look at their feet or their, you know, their whatever's going on with them, or to the dental, you know,
Yes.
clinic. But it's all good stuff, so don't feel...
And all these good stuff, and they're all free stuff here.
Oh.
You know, we're so lucky here in the ACT. Yeah, but it's like how we were saying, you know, and remember, Luseane, like when some of those kids who develop very fast, do you remember some of the kids would, you know, or the moms would say to you that, you know, that they might get like with their joint, a little bit of pain or something in their joint. Yeah, it's about the growth spurt.
Yes.
Yeah, it's about that growth spurt
yes.
sometimes.
And also too, you know, I know that around also this age, because of that growth spurt, because of the sore joints,
Yes.
you know, they might feel unwell a lot more than in other age groups. You know, I don't want to go to school. I know one of my grandchildren is like, I don't feel like going to school because I don't feel okay today.
Then those excuses, Ma, I've got a bit of a tummy pain.
But you know what, I think also too, it's good to take notice. My daughter-in-law just said, no, I just thought he needs to have a day at home. And that's such a great thing that you're acknowledging. They're not feeling okay, whatever's happening for them. It's serious. To them it's serious. Enough for them not to want to go to school and see their peers. And the next day, everything's well, they're off to
they're
school.
okay again, yeah.
Because sometimes
You think I used to do
Yes.
that at school.
Oh.
Yeah, so it's there.
Yes.
Yeah. And of course,
As long as he doesn't keep repeating it, it becomes a little...
yeah, then we pick up on
Yes.
it. We usually.
Yes.
But remember, this is a busy time for sports as well.
That's
We're
true.
talking about healthy children and active children. It's
active
about
children. Yes. And not all children are sporty children, but you can find something that your child is involved and interested in, you know, like extracurricular stuff, Louise. It can be music. Doesn't have to be sports.
Karate or
it
those
can be
things.
just dance,
Yeah.
you know. I mean, my grandchildren are involved in sports and dance, and they love doing what they do, even though poor mum is busy, you know, so many, you know, for so many hours. But you were like that. I was like that. That's what we used to do, running kids around to their practices and football and dance and whatever they need to do. But this all comes to assuring that they're healthy people.
Well, that's right. And they're developing up to that. And like you say, if they don't like the traditional sports, the
Yes.
football or the basketball, netball or whatever,
There's
it's
so
about
much.
the alternatives. There's
Yes.
so much in our community
Oh,
that they can
goodness.
do.
So
Yeah.
much now.
Yeah.
I'm amazed at what I hear about what is available for children. There's all sorts of things, even, you know, there's classes for chess after school, apart from the,
Oh,
you know,
yes,
extra training. But there's always something for those that don't want to run around. There's fun running around, you know, it doesn't have to be all competitive sports,
Well,
as we
that's
know.
right.
But it is, we're so lucky that there's numerous stuff, numerous outings and activities for our children to engage in that will just make them healthy young people.
Because
as
I
they
remember
enter.
with Sabrina,
Yes.
our grandchild, because of her other grandparents,
Yeah.
chess was her thing. You know, they used to,
Yes.
because she used to play chess
Yes.
with her other grandfather, you know, and she was always good with chess and those other sports.
It's
So,
a mind sport,
Yes.
isn't it? You know,
Yeah.
a mind game.
I can't even play
I
that.
can't play, but
Yeah.
my grandchildren play, you know. And I think to myself, wow, not only, I like that they like to run around, they also like to sit down in front of their game, but they also like to do that sort of stuff, you know,
It's
playing
about
chess.
the mind, isn't it?
And I think it's
Yeah.
about a balancing act always.
Yes,
Louisa.
it is.
Parenting is,
Yeah.
isn't it?
And it's about their, it's like you're saying, it's not always physical. It's about their brain, you know, it's about their mind. Because they do say, for us parents, that this is the times that our kids will challenge us, you know, about our own values,
Yes.
and they'll question us about a lot of things. And as long as we parents are aware that that's that age that, you know, they develop to that stage of their brain, that's quite normal.
Yes.
And like you said, there's so much out there that they can choose.
Because if they're questioning you, it's because they need to know. They're not questioning you because they want to be clever or smart. They just don't know, they need an answer from you. So instead of saying, be quiet, you know, just see what it is that they're wanting to know, because it's sometimes just a 5-minute conversation with your child will make things sit better in there, so they're not walking around worried about not knowing what's going on here and why is this happening, and, you know, hating their friend and then liking their friend at the same time. It's normal.
It's their age.
Yes, because
they keep changing their friends.
Like, I like playing, but he's like this. And for them to negotiate and to know, you can like a person, but you can sort of not like their behaviour.
That's
you know?
right, yeah.
And you think, well, why do you play with so-and-so? Because they like them, you know. It's not that they're all bad, you know, it's just that they're bad sometimes, but fun to be with.
Because
at
at
other
this,
times.
when they get towards the end of primary school, Lucy, you know, they have they can sort of talk very intelligently, you know, especially about their interests.
Oh gosh,
and stuff like that. So it's about the conversations become more sophisticated, you know, and like as adults, not like adults, but they can converse with you in a more sensible way.
I think that's a really important point, Lisa, that we need to take notice of the conversation. Really take notice of their conversation, because this is the time that they're developing those skills of conversation, talking to other people, negotiating with other people, because they're doing that with their peers every day, as we know.
Right.
So, not to say, oh shush, keep quiet. Listen to them. This is the time to listen, because they're going to be trying, they're going to be saying, you know, Mum, you know, this is happening, and what do you think? They're learning the art of negotiation.
Yes, that's it.
It's just
and it's about managing their life, you know, it's about that. That's what they're saying for us parents, just to be aware that they're not challenging us for anything, but they're practicing, you know, their brain and how they think, you know, and how they're going to manage in the outside world.
Yes, and as we know with life, as adults, Louisa, we're forever negotiating life and whatever happens to us in life. So this is when they're learning this.
Yes.
This time here is they're learning those skills in order to take it through.
And they practice on us.
Oh,
and it's about that mastery.
Yes.
You know how they learn to master their own actions and thoughts and stuff.
It's a good thing.
It's about their self-identity.
Yes.
Us more interested in their, like in our background, and then, you know, they ask you about why do the Tongans do this and why do they do that?
Yes.
Yeah. But it's about us.
Lots of questions.
Reassuring them.
Yes, and you know, they are at school, they're learning things, they're talking to their peers, they're learning what their peers are doing. They can see the differences between their home and their friends' homes. They're going to be asking, Mum, why aren't we doing this? Why do we go to church, you know? Why don't we do this on a Sunday or whatever?
Because their friends are playing sports
friends are doing that stuff.
or something, or swimming.
Or if you're not doing that, they'll come and say, why don't we do this? My friend does this and it looks like good fun. So you've got to be prepared with the correct answer. This is why we don't do this. Because it's like gently reminding them, this is why we don't go here, because our budget is this. We can't really afford to do that, you know. And it's about telling them the truth, because they'll understand. You can't say, oh look, you know, even why can't I get this bike, or why can't I get this? This is the time that they're learning to negotiate and get what they need, you know.
Yeah.
And it's good.
And especially at that age, they say that they still respect, you know, the parents. They still think that, you know, they're the adults know better, you know, even though they'll push us a little
Yes.
bit. Yeah, that sort of
And
it's
as,
about
even though
talk.
we know, even though we know that we know better, because we've lived it, we still have to give them the, you know, the respect what they're coming up with, and saying, oh yes, I know you've heard that, and I know your teacher said that, or I know your friend said that, but here in our little family, this is how we do this.
Yes.
You know, and I'm sure, just gentle, they'll still kick at it and say, nah, that's not fair.
They'll
You
always
will hear
push
that.
us. Push
Yes.
us to the limit.
They're
sort of.
supposed to, because they're growing. They're supposed to push the envelope, push every day. And you're supposed to practice. Now here it is again. We'll have to do this conversation again, explain again, you know, why we don't do so and so. But it's just all.
And they do here, and they mightn't do it right away. But I think at the end of the day, it resonates with them. And then they
does.
get to the stage where they will, yeah.
It does, Louisa, because we hear our children. They say, you know, Mum, I know you used to say this, and you know, but you know, I never forgot. I know your children have said that to you, Louisa. Mine have said it to me. You know, I've never forgot that. And also, they will remember things too that you'd rather forget. You know.
Yes.
And I say, well, this is what I say to my
And
children.
I've made some mistakes, giving them some
Yes.
wrong,
Yes.
you know, advice.
Yes. I say things like, if I make 50 mistakes bringing you up, why don't you try and make only 30 mistakes bringing your children
And
up?
that's very true. Learn
Just
from
less.
us. Yeah.
Learn, yes.
Yes, we're talking about friendship. Like, and most of the kids at that age, well, their friends would have the same sort of interests.
Yes.
Yeah, and also they say that it's a good time because, like with sports and all that, some kids will continue to play their favorite sport, and some at that age might decide, oh no, that's not for me. I'm going to change.
Yes.
You know, that sort of
They find some
other interest to sort of follow.
You know, that's so true, because if, like for my young grandson, he was playing soccer. That's, you know, because it's like his mum and dad wanted him to play soccer. But then he decided he would play AFL. So he's now playing AFL and he loves it. And exactly as you said, Louisa, they decide. He decided that that's what he wants to do, and he's 9, you know.
Yeah.
So of course he's going to he's decided to do this, and he loves it, and that's what we need to allow them.
Yes.
That they know what they're wanting. They actually know what they want to do and what makes them happy. And at the end of the day, we want happy children.
Yes, we need the happy children,
Yeah.
and also at that age, like exactly what you're saying, Luseane, you know, that's a time that the parents can pick up on their strengths, on the kids' strengths. You know, oh, they're good at that football, they're good at that, and it's about allowing them the, you know, the opportunity to
Yes.
sort of go further in the
Absolutely.
doors. Yeah.
Because it just adding strength.
Yes.
Right? Building strength in doing what they're doing, making sure that these young people getting into adolescence and doing all the things, negotiating, growing, getting to know their
They're full of
peers.
energy too. They just
Aren't
dying
they?
to get rid
Aren't
of
they?
this energy.
Aren't they just? And they need a healthy outlet
Yes.
for that energy, because, you know, I think if children don't get the proper outlet, it can quickly turn to resentful young people, you know, or angry young people. We don't, you know, it's not what we want, you know, for these children to, because you will start to see it at this age. If
And it's
they're not
about
getting-
us.
Yes.
It's give and take for
Yes.
both, isn't
If
it?
they're not getting their needs met, they will react like we do.
Well, that's right.
You know,
yes.
like we do. So I guess it's keeping an eye on that, so that resentment doesn't build. And it's only because they're not being listened to sometimes.
And they need to be listened to.
They need to
And
be
it's about
listened
that
to.
balance.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, this is quite exciting
Yes.
conversation, because of, you know, because of how the children develop at this age. Very exciting age, very energetic age.
That's
so you
right.
have to be fit.
Yeah, you have to
as a
be fit.
parent.
We know that, yeah. And like what you were saying before, like through their physical activities, they learn about sportsmanship.
Yes.
They're setting their goals, like you're saying, and meeting the challenges and negotiating. That's how they cope with it. And about teamwork and the value,
teamwork.
And that's it,
So important.
And that's the value of traditional sports and value of practices and stuff.
Because sometimes we miss the point when they're at school they're learning teamwork because they're taught to to learn
do assignments or out in the field as a team.
But on the field, that's another teamwork learning, isn't it? Really important, crucial, that you have to play with each other, and the way to get the game happening or win or lose or whatever is about teamwork, isn't it?
That's it, exactly.
That is so true, Lisa.
Yeah.
But I guess
I think we're sort of winding down.
Oh,
so
that's right.
yeah,
Yes.
so
we
I just
at that
wanted
time,
to finish with what the parents need to know. It's about help your young people understand puberty. I thought it was something else, but it's just like for female menstrual period.
Yes. Really important stuff for them to understand.
Nocturnal
that
emissions.
that might happen.
It's about privacy.
Yes.
And it's about respect for young people's privacy, like you were saying, and convey that growth and maturation rates. They can differ between,
Absolutely.
your kids might be different from your friends' kids. But
and not to feel that there's something wrong with, because as parents we're sitting, sometimes we're talking, as we're dropping kids off at school, and they'll say, Joe is doing this now, and you're thinking, oh, mine's not doing that yet. Not to feel, like, oh gosh, I'm missing out on something. No. Development, like anything, happens at their own pace for a person, so your children are exactly the same. They don't have to be like the next door neighbour or their friends.
Well, that's right. And then just remember to mention like relationships with us as parents, with their friends. And I know they talk about peer pressure, but sometimes it's about peer support. Yes. Isn't it? You need your peer support. So important. Yeah. And I think when we talked about listening to your children, especially around this age, there's issues that might come up if they're not getting on with someone at school or something's happening. That's why it's so important to listen to your child. The teacher has 20-odd children to look after. So if she misses it, you need to pick up on it if your child's it's
coming
that
back.
teamwork, like what we were saying.
Yes.
And it might be different elsewhere, in Tonga or Australia, in New Zealand, but this is how we do it here. And other parents can just sort of look at what we do here in Australia and Canberra and modify according to their environment, isn't it? Because they all develop the same.
The kids are the same everywhere in the world.
That's right.
It doesn't matter where you are. I think the only thing that's different are the resources that are available.
Exactly.
We're just so lucky here in Canberra that we can,
remember that there's people, professionals out there who can help you if you feel that it's out of your, like awareness or whatever. But there's services out there who can support, and they'll do it with you as a team. Yes.
Absolutely. Don't ever feel that there's no one there to support you or help you. They're a phone call away. You just got to pick up the phone if things are happening. You can ask, your local health centre. Yes. Your doctor will give you information.
Even your GP,
Absolutely.
your family doctor.
Absolutely.
Will help.
You're never ever alone in this, and never ever feel that you're not doing a good job because your child is like this or like that.
And plus, you always do your best when it's your kids.
Of course. And when
they
things aren't going well, there is support. If you're not really feeling okay, if you're feeling unwell, there is support out there. If you don't have your family living in the same city with you, there are services available that will support you. And just a quick conversation with your doctor or your community health service or your community nurse will give you all the information, all the support that you need.
Exactly. And love. Love goes a long way.
It does. It does. You know.
Love, like you say, listen, talk, open conversations, you know.
Yeah.
As long as we're there for our children.
All the very best to you
Yes.
young parents out there. You know, I know this world, this society is now is full of everything. We're having to deal with the COVID. We're having to deal with everything that's happening, all the new, you know, illnesses and viruses out there. But, you know, there is still help
That's right.
and support
There's support out
and
there.
information. Yes.
And most important, look after yourselves. Be happy. Yeah. Be safe yourself.
Be safe. Yes. So important to, you know, to get the right information now. There's so much information, isn't there? You know, here someone said, there's so much information, I can't filter it. Talk to your doctor.
Well, that's it.
You know, they'll be able to say, this is what we know, because your doctor will be updated with everything that's going on with health. Just talk to your doctor and say, look, there's all this information, but I need to know more about the flu vaccination or, you know, the you know, COVID-19 vaccination and all that sort of stuff. Talk to someone. You don't have to wonder. You can Google, but you need to talk
That's
to
right,
someone.
yes.
Talk to your doctor, health
There's
professional.
always help. Even your next door neighbour. She'll know somebody who helped her with her,
Yes,
you know,
yes.
parenting and stuff. But enjoy the parenting. It's always challenging. But we always do our best, isn't it? With our own
Yes.
children.
Yes, Louisa. And we smile and laugh at our little oopsies and mistakes that you make, but that's where human. We will make those mistakes and we
Yeah.
will keep making those mistakes.
And we're there to help them pick
Yes.
up on those mistakes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
So I guess, Louisa, is there anything else you'd like to finish off our program with? Because I think our time is
yes.
ending.
I think it's that's all, Luseane, we've done it, and everybody can do things the way they want to do things. But it's about that there's help out there, as we already mentioned, and it's about just understanding that our children will have to go through all these little challenges of their own development. Yeah, and that's part of their journey.
Yes.
We're just there to support them. Plus, what they say, it takes a whole village to raise a child.
Yes. And it's so true, Louisa. And even if you live in a city, the whole village is your support network.
That's right.
You know, your community health centre,
Yeah.
your GP, that's your village that you're living with, your next door neighbour, your school, you know. I guess
The schools will always know where to send you if you do.
absolutely.
Yeah.
They are full of information of what you need. And you know, take it easy.
And they've got school nurses now.
They do.
Yeah, at high
They
schools,
do.
yeah.
Yes,
So
they do. And school counsellors. There's
Yeah,
always
exactly,
someone,
yes.
you know, or your school principal, there's always someone to ask.
yes.
We are just so fortunate.
And all the services are free, you know, for our kids and that.
Yes.
I mean, yeah, you've got the private ones, but
Yes.
yeah.
But
And
it
they're
is
supposed to
free.
be young people till they're 25 in
Yes.
Australia.
But you know, from where we come from, Louisa, you're a young person that you stay at home. Because someone said, oh, so when do Tongans leave home? I said, when they're married. You know, so we stay youth
Yes.
and young people. That's how our parents look at us until we're married, and then you leave home. There's none of this 18 years old, I'm looking for a flat now. You know, when we were growing up, you know, there was never that
I
conversation.
think it's getting a bit like that here now.
Yes, it is
Because
different
things are getting
it's-
very expensive.
Exactly.
I mean, we can't get rid of our children up
That's
to
right. You know, there was a program called Empty Nest or something like that, and people were
we'll never
talking
get
about.
the emptiness.
Oh, but people were talking about how they wanted an empty nest,
Yes.
but people wouldn't leave, and I thought, well,
And they tell you off when you want to get rid of stuff. Don't get rid of that. Or they'll say, get rid of that. You don't need that.
you know, that's always the thing with parents and their you know, adult children. It's like when you're cleaning up, you say your garage, and you're saying, look, I want you all to come and take your things. Because if you don't come and take your things, it's going to the tip. You know, there's always that stuff, isn't it? Because your garage, your home ends up being the place where, I'll just take it over to mum's. you know, I've just taken over to mum and dad's the garage. We can, you know, you end up
I'm sure
hoarding.
my son's room, he thinks that's a garage. He's still got all his stuff.
So this is a note to Hal.
Yes.
Pick up your stuff, you know.
All the
Otherwise-
graffiti behind the door has to go.
Oh, the graffiti's good, you know. Maybe you remember, you know, I guess a very famous graffiti person, Basquiat. People went and took doors down for where he used to draw,
Yes.
you know, because it was worth a lot of money.
Well, that's like
So
the
maybe
door in his
don't throw
room.
away your door.
Yeah, it's all
Well,
the graffiti
That
behind
you
it.
never know that maybe in the next, you know, however many years, people will be looking for, where's the graffiti that he used to draw at his mum's house, you know, come looking for
Yeah,
it.
well, I've had that journalist looking at that, and then
There you
and
go.
I said, it's still there.
It's still
Yeah,
there.
still there.
You know, there are things that are important because we just leave it there because it reminds us of them
Yes.
growing up, you know. I've got a door that I've got the children, you know, marking where as they grow and, you know,
Yes,
names
still-
according to.
Yes.
I think our technician is telling us to get
Oh,
off the air.
yes.
Anyway, thank you so much, Louisa,
Yes,
for
oh,
a
thank you,
wonderful
Sandy.
program.
Thank you for the, you know, must remember
Wonderful
for the
conversation
technician.
as
And
usual.
yes, that's right.
And lots of information.
And making
as
us
usual.
go down the thing. And like I say, you know, in Canberra,
Yes.
this is where we get all these things.
Absolutely.
So they can contextualise.
Yes. Take care of yourselves. Take it easy.
Mm,
You know, don't be too hard on yourselves. When you make a mistake, everyone does.
that's
Everyone
right.
makes a
Just
mistake.
keep smiling.
If you have a really hard day, sit down and just take a couple of breaths. You know, maybe when all the kids have gone to bed, maybe a nice glass of red or just a cup of coffee or cup of tea, you know, to have a relaxing day. Don't forget to look after yourselves. Have a break now and again. You know,
Yes.
there's no one can do it 24/7 or, you know, never. There's no super person out there. Take care.
Supermom. No such thing as supermom.
No such thing. Even though you might think you are. Anyway, look after yourselves.
Yeah, take care.
Over
Thank
here,
you. Yeah.
Stay safe. Thank you. Bye. Malo.